Sometimes the conflicts and issues of our world appear out of reach and insurmountable to us, mainly because they seem, well, a world away. A movement called Invisible Children strives to bring the controversy of children enslaved as soldiers in northern Uganda to the attention of all would-be activists across the globe. Boyd's Interact Club presents the Invisible Children message to the student, staff, and community of McKinney this Thursday night at a special movie screening at the Boyd Auditorium. Please welcome Boyd seniors Meghan Reidy and Meghan Schmalz. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
It's nice to meet you. Megan and Meghan, right? Yes. One of you, it's M-E-G-A-N, and the other one is M-E-G-H?
I'm H-less.
I have the H.
H, got it, H and H-less. But you're both seniors here.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
That's cool. Well, awesome. And you're both president of Club Interact.
Yep, we're co-presidents.
That's interesting. Are there other officers of Club Interact?
Yes, we have a treasurer, an international service officer, and a local community service officer.
Oh, that's great. That's terrific. And these are all, of course, all students.
Yes.
Is there a large number of students involved in Interact?
We have approximately 93 members this year, which is exciting for us.
That is so cool. And so the big event is tomorrow night. It's at Boyd. It's in the auditorium. And so we'll watch the screening there on stage. And it's free to anyone who wants to attend. Is that right?
Yes.
Terrific. Well, let's watch the trailer for the event tomorrow night.
I would say there's two young boys that you met over there that changed you.
Yeah.
One of them's named Tony.
Yeah, Tony Basillo.
I'm Tony. I need a girlfriend from US. My friend,
Basillo. Yes.
Tell me why you have pink nails.
What?
He really did persevere through an incredibly hard time growing up in a war zone.
It's hard to talk about it. This place was really, it was like our home.
Do you think if you go there, you cannot forget about us? You have a tape. After 1 month, you can watch and remember about us.
Today I'm here advocating on behalf of children in northern Uganda.
Instead of being on the film, he was there face to face with other American roadies.
That is the first time I met Ned.
We're not changing just lives in Uganda, but you could really see the change in America as well.
I became so close to Ned like a brother. Mountain best forever.
West Coast to the best coast, baby.
We are just enjoying ourselves watching the World Cup soccer final.
Terror bombings in Uganda. 74 people killed.
The attacks in Kampala were powerful and synchronized.
Bro, it's not your fault.
I invite the whole world to join together and we end this terror.
So what we're going to see tomorrow night is this film, and it's called Tony, I guess. That's the way they've turned it based on this young man. I guess the question of mine, when I was on campus at Boyd last year, I remember a student coming to me and telling me specifically about, I went and saw the Invisible Children screening at Boyd last night, and it changed my life. I mean, it completely opened my eyes to something that I wasn't aware of. And so obviously we're doing this again for some some very clear reasons that I can understand. But for the two of you, I know that you've participated in it last year, got to see what it was like. What has motivated you to be a part of this again?
Well, I don't know about Meg, but for me, I had no idea when I first heard about all this activity going on and all the war in Africa. It had been going on for 25 years, and I had never heard about it, and it was sickening to me that something that had gone on for so long and that had affected so many people, especially children, was so unheard of. And so I just looked up more information about it, and as I got more and more involved, my heart was just really pulled to act more on it and to raise awareness about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is definitely one of the main reasons we do it, because not only are we unaware of what's going on in Africa, but then you start to realize that there's other things going on in the world, not just in Africa. It's kind of a bridge or a gateway into being a little bit more aware. But one of the main things for me was just the fact that, I mean, I don't know, if their stories blew me away, and I was thinking about my own life and how hard it is. In comparison to theirs, I was thinking, like, oh my, I remember the first time I went, I got extra credit for going. I was going to go anyways, but then I was like, yeah. And
bonus.
I was thinking how great this was going to be, that this test grade was going to increase. And then I was like, wow, I was really worried about that test grade in comparison to a war and being a child soldier or being abducted for many different reasons. I just kind of puts everything into perspective a little bit.
Well, and you ladies were mentioning earlier that you have done not just research on your own, but you also gotten to explore this topic at an event over the summer. You said you went to San Diego. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we got invited to a conference based on how we participated last year. We were able to raise enough funds to get attention from Invisible Children, and so they asked us to come on out, and we didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into. We were just like, oh, a conference for Invisible Children. This sounds fun. Hopefully we'll learn something. And we just met the most energetic and dedicated youth members. I mean, we met people that were 13 years old and completely involved in Invisible Children. We met people who were teachers who were 40 and teaching it to their children. So we just met people of all ages who were dedicated to the cause. And we also got to hear some really cool speakers.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Do you girls mind, Megan, maybe if you want to give a little bit for those of us at home about what the children are, who they are, and a little bit of what we're going to experience tomorrow night.
Okay, the children, it's named Invisible Children because there was no advocate for these children who were being abducted. Something that might be a little bit doesn't make sense always is that the people we hear from are adults. Most of that is because when they are abducted, they're very young. They can be I've heard terrible stories from 5, 7 year-old kids, and they are brainwashed. A lot of times drugs are used. They're forced to commit terrible atrocities. But by the time that they are rehabilitated enough to be able to speak about it, they're very much young adults and older.
And the Invisible Children organization is trying to aid them in the rehabilitation?
Yes.
Yes.
As well as put in some
programs to prevent.
Programs to prevent.
Yes. I guess some of their main goals are awareness, rehabilitation, and prevention. If they can stop people from being abducted, that's the best way to avoid the other necessary things. But we have a guest speaker who will also be coming tomorrow after the film is shown. Her name's Collins. She's a pretty established Ugandan speaker on humanitarian aid and specifically in this effort. So she will share after the screening a little bit of her story and
how the war has affected her.
Yeah.
Right. And that was what happened last year as well. There was a gentleman that spoke?
Yes, Francis and his mentor came and spoke, and they had like a questions and answers session. So if the students in the crowd had any questions about the war or how Francis was affected, he was able to tell them. So it was really cool that the students were able to experience it so personally with the Francis.
Absolutely.
We even had people ask, like, what's your favorite American food since you came? So you could get a really good grasp of what he's going through, even culture shock coming to America.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is free to anyone in the community that wants to attend?
Yes.
Yes.
We would love everyone in the community to come.
Yeah.
We want to fill that auditorium.
For sure.
That's great. And what is there for them to take away or even offer if they want to contribute to Invisible Children?
Donations are always accepted. We will have Beckett's ready to take donations. But there's going to be merchandise as well, and they have a lot of interesting stuff, Invisible Children. They make plenty of videos and bracelets and stuff to raise awareness about the project, and all of it is very well designed, so if people are interested in coming, they can just come see the video, get the merchandise, and learn a little bit about it.
What's important to know about the merchandise, though, is they have a lot of microeconomic plans or systems in Uganda and the war-affected regions. The bracelets that you can buy were made by women in actually the displacement camps, which are internally displaced camps, which are now slowly kind of being emptied, but they have quite a surplus of those bracelets, so they're still selling those. Or like their mend bags, which are made by the women
who are displaced.
Yes, and also last year they had a shirt specifically for a school we were raising money for that was made out of Ugandan cotton, made in Uganda, so that was really cool to be able to give directly back to that. The donations, though, go to the protection plan, which is their current, I guess,
plan to combat all that's happened in the war.
You mentioned before we got on about pamphlets that they've created recently, brightly colored pamphlets that teach and educate soldiers about how they can
defect. Yeah.
The protection plan, it's really, I am fascinated by it. I don't know who came up with it, but it is fantastic because they work not only to protect those who are not abducted, keep them from being in that situation, but also at the same time encourage those that have been abducted to leave. They do this through two main mediums, I guess. They have radio towers that help the villages communicate with each other, so if they see the Lord's Resistance Army, which is the terrorist group
behind all the attacks,
called the LRA for short, if they see the LRA moving north, they can kind of put out a radio signal, hey, they're moving north, because the LRA really only hits the outside of communities, so people will move from their field houses into the more secure I guess, village centrals. And then also they use the radio towers to broadcast soldiers who have already defected.
They give messages like, come home, you're going to be accepted.
Because all of the soldiers have a little FM radio that they carry. And to hear it from someone who's already defected is a lot more powerful than anyone else. And the other medium they use is a brochure, and it's in 5 different languages. Swahili, and then a bunch of
Acholi,
Acholi,
a lot of the different languages that they speak in the area. And the cards are very brightly colored, and they're placed in areas where the soldiers are near water sources or places where the soldiers would be likely to bed down for the night. And so they have these brightly colored cards, and they show images and also words of how to defect, how to come home, and assuring the soldiers that if they do decide to come back, that they will be accepted in society.
Wow. That's just extraordinary. Well, ladies, thank you so much for telling us about it. It's tomorrow night. What time?
6:30.
6:30 at Boyd Auditorium. And it'll last about...
The actual screening itself should be an hour, and then usually Collins or the Ugandan representative will speak for about an hour as well. So probably around
2 hours.
2 hours, yeah.
Okay, terrific.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that Club Interact will maybe be back on later on in the year. They have other events that are going on. That's great. Well, thank you so much for being here. If you don't mind sticking around, we're going to transition here into the McKinney ISD look-alike. Here we go. All right, Studio M is nearly wrapped up, but we can't leave without doing some very vague people comparing. So access your critical eye and determine the legitimacy of these possible correlations in our McKinney ISD famous look-alike segment. Roll it. Denzel Washington. Oh, Mr. Parr.
Did you see that?
Yes, it's about time. I've been saying this for a while.
Whoa.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. There's one more. Mr. Parr's math teacher. Oh, boy. Quite the catch, Mr. Parr. And Daniel Craig. And Mr. Herrington.
Must be the sunglasses.
It is the. I think it's the sunglasses. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll give him that. All right. Well, ladies, thank you for enjoying that with me. That's it for today's show. Thanks for joining us. On our next new episode of Studio M, we'll check out a rockin' new high school band that formed over the summer, and we'll track down some elusive North Blue Blazers. Discover what that's all about. I don't know. We'll see you next time in the studio, Studio M, your McKinney ISD talk show.